Support for this episode of PBS Reno Arts is provided by the Nevada Arts Council. Arts and creativity make us stronger, fueling innovation, prosperity, and thriving communities across Nevada. They boost our economy, promote well-being, and enhance education, empowering Nevadans of all ages. The Nevada Arts Council nurtures these essential creative forces. Together, let's elevate the arts in every corner of our great state. More at nvartscouncil.org. This is PBS Reno Arts. I'm Dave Santina in the studio at PBS Reno in Reno, Nevada. And we're back for a new year. And this is our first program since December. So I'm excited to get back to doing something new. We've got a brand new show that's about to open at Brüka. And I've got Stacey Spain and Bradford who are here to talk about it. Thank you both for coming.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Happy to
having
be
us.
here.
Appreciate you being here. So the show is Lonely Planet. It's presented by Brüka. Is it, if I understood right, is this in the theater next to Brüka, or is it in the Brüka Theater?
It's in Sub Brüka, so it's downstairs.
In the basement there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's...
more intimate space.
I love it. Okay, so Stacey, you're the director. Bradford, you're one of the actors. It's a two-person show, two-actor show?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're half the show.
Yes.
Stacey's responsible for the whole show.
The whole show.
And our other cohort is Rod Hearn, who could not be here today, but is an incredible asset to the entire show as well.
For sure. And anyone who's listened, if thank you, by the way, if you have. If anyone's listened to all of these podcasts, Rod was on about a year ago talking about a different show he was on with Bradford, who was not on that show. So you got to trade it off,
Absolutely.
right? It's payback.
Mm-hmm.
You get to tell him all about it this time. So Stacey, it's Lonely Planet. It was written by Stephen Dietz in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about it? I know you don't want to give the whole story away, but what can you tell us about it?
Sure. I just want to start by talking about Stephen Dietz a little bit. He is an incredibly prolific playwright, and he sometimes writes things that are either site-specific or idea-specific, and he is a straight man, an incredible ally to the queer community who lost a lot of friends during the AIDS pandemic, and as we all did in theater at that time, and really wanted to create something that would memorialize the kind of impact that it had on our communities across America. So one of the lovely things about his play is that it takes place in any American city, it says. So that's exciting because it's not just one place. It really represents all of America.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So it's not New York or L.A.
Right.
Correct.
Which
Right.
most everything always is, or Chicago. So
Right.
that's great. So what? Well, Bradford, let me come over to you here. You are playing one of the two characters. They're both main characters.
Yes.
Not really a minor role there when you're 50% of the cast. Tell me about the character you play.
Yes, I play Carl, and he's described as having the energy of 8 and the patience of none, which is a beautiful contrast to Rod's character, Jody, who is incredibly patient with Carl and
Grounded.
very grounded, where my character is very flighty. And ultimately, he has a different way of approaching the crisis that's going on in his community with his friends. He is handling it almost head on, but disguising his pain very, very differently through a series of lies and exaggerations that he tells in order to kind of memorialize them as well.
So they both are losing friends and reacting
Differently.
in different
Very
ways.
differently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now it sounds incredibly serious and challenging to watch, but my understanding is there's quite a bit of humor in this show.
There has to be. We were talking about this last night, that to survive through this pandemic, our community used all of the tools at our that we had, and a lot of those included humor and included irony, which is called out specifically in the play, that to be fully ourselves and to be fully present in a community that was being decimated, we had to find the lightness. And so this play plays with that as well, that even in the midst of losing community members at such an astonishing rate, humor is there, lightness is there, play is there, and that is how folks survived, with some kind of wholeness to their soul intact, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. You've got to find a way to cope, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention, I don't think I said this up top, we're recording on Friday, the 9th of January. This will post on Monday, the 12th of January. And this show opens Friday, the 16th.
Yes.
So if you're listening to this or watching it, if you're watching it, it's probably too late. If you're listening to it, get a ticket. So it's the 16th and runs through Sunday, the 31st. So you've got a good couple of weeks of opportunities. Yep. And so I would love for people to be able to come out and experience this. So during this epidemic, during the AIDS epidemic, what I wrote as a note for myself based on what I've read about the show is that it's two friends navigating their feelings of grief and fear, and using humor to do it. And so that sounds incongruous. How do you navigate that as an actor to not be? I mean, do you have to talk about not being too funny or being being too grief stricken or too upset or too serious? I don't know. How do you deal with that?
Beat by beat, and then also understanding that it is a tightrope and it's about 3 degrees one direction and 2 degrees the other until we find what is that sweet spot where we're paying attention to the content and also honoring the lightness as it comes in.
So is that all worked out through repeated rehearsals?
A big part of it, yeah. I think our first rehearsal, Stacey was very specific, saying that she didn't want these characters to be caricatures. So that informed both me and Rod of a lot of how to take this. But the dialogue is actually written very well. The banter, the humor is embedded in it. And something that Stephen Dietz does really well is also write in the silences. So he has very specifically placed the beats where the actors have a lot of the information they need about when the tone changes, and but again, written in his dialogue, all the humor is there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, and I'm curious about when you're reading this on paper, does Dietz make any sort of effort to indicate or dictate where something is humorous, or is it just obvious based on the dialogue and the stage direction?
Both. It's
Okay.
it's obvious and also discovered in the action of the play. So we can think about the writing as being that roadmap, and of course it takes place in a map store. So I love that analogy.
It's in a map store.
It's in a map store.
That's a good little tidbit. I don't want to ask for too much information, but I do love knowing enough of the premise so that because I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I hope that someone who's listening or watching this will want to come and see it based on this conversation.
Sure.
So that would be great. I see you brought up a copy of the poster, and the only real visible prop is a chair, a single chair.
Right.
Can you tell me what the significance of the chair is?
Yeah, so these major themes that are in the play really are about maps and these chairs. And so I was speaking with folks at the National AIDS Quilt Foundation, which is in Oakland now, and talking about finding the names of people who died of HIV/AIDS in the 1980s in Washoe County, and whose names are public in public domain because they're part of the AIDS Quilt already. And so we're going to be utilizing those names in a way on the set, which may be visible to some folks and may not. They're going to be on the underside of all of the chairs. So the chairs project will memorialize some people, obviously not all,
right,
but some folks who we lost in the 1980s and beyond. And in particular, when we think about the song "Empty Chairs and Empty Tables" was running through my head in rehearsal one night, and of course, that's another thing who's not here. And Stephen Dietz, as a playwright and a theater person, his community was devastated by this pandemic, and he lost so many friends, so many folks who, a generation of theater professionals were lost. And I'm 60 now, and so when I was 19 and working at Idaho Shakespeare Festival, we lost, 6 people in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And two of those people were friends that, were my mentors at that time. And so when you're a young person and you lose a part of your community, and you think about all of the creativity that could have happened over this generation, and they were not there to complete their work, that's something about those empty chairs, right? Who's not here? And the thing about the AIDS crisis at the time was all of the things we didn't know.
Right.
We come to it now with an understanding of, this is how AIDS was transmitted, and this is, all of the things that people could do to keep themselves safe. And of course, now we're very lucky to be able to have drug protocols that make folks undetectable and living full and complete lives. But that is certainly not what we all remember.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, this was written in the early 90s, premiered in 93, I believe.
Yeah.
But is it set in about a decade earlier?
It's set in 1988.
88, yeah, because I was going to say by the early 90s we had a little more understanding. 92 was Magic Johnson's announcement, which kind of for a lot of mainstream America became the
right.
This is
Everywhere.
real. This could be anybody. But so I remember that because that was a moment for me that I still remember. Was that day was because that was someone who I was a big fan of as a sports fan.
Sure.
And so. But I always remember 82-ish as the sort of the beginning of that mystery of this disease that nobody could identify or could figure out. So that was my curiosity, because I imagine by the early 90s there's a little more knowledge, but it's still everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with it. So okay, so that makes sense. So now you're playing you Bradford are playing one of the two characters. I'm curious about this, because it's a 2-person show, and you've done many shows. Both of you have done many shows, directed, performed, written. You're a playwright as well, Stacey. Are you a playwright too?
I wrote a 10-minute scene that was produced.
Let's say yes.
Okay, there you
Yes, I say yes.
Okay.
You qualify.
Emerging.
Under the PBS Reno Arts qualification standards. You're a playwright.
Okay, excellent.
But is there a particular approach you take to something like this versus, say, an ensemble piece as an actor?
That's a great question. I think that I kind of attack them all very, very equally. Just a lot of the pressure to make sure that I'm memorized a lot sooner.
Sure.
But this is something I love about theater, whether it is a two-hander, so just 2 actors, or an ensemble piece. Like, I love the community that's built. Rod and I have known each other.
Did you just teach me some lingo? A two-hander?
Two-hander.
Two-hander.
Yeah. And for a queer play, that's kind of funny, but we're not going to go there.
Stacey said that, not me.
Okay.
Whatever. It's fine.
No, you get to make the jokes.
Yeah.
I don't. That's how this works.
Yeah, there you
No,
go.
that's great. So okay, so your approach is similar no matter what.
Yeah, very similar.
the show.
I try my best to, from day one, to start throwing myself into a character, making really brave choices, making sure that I give something for the director to direct. And also an opportunity for me to solidify some choices that will be made and agreed upon. So I'm not racing to make those choices last minute, because then I think that sometimes it seems artificial.
Right, like you're trying to try too hard at the end to tack on some kind of personality or nuance that's really not authentic.
Absolutely.
So how do you know a choice is brave?
Oh, wow. When the director tells you that it's brave. No, I go out and I have fun. First, I do a lot of playing when I get out there. I try to. I'm an actor who likes to physicalize first. I try to create a lot of physical and even vocal choices for the character, and then usually the internal character kind of follows. Of course, that differs with the character and the show. Sometimes you just need to use different methods.
Let's use this one as an example.
So I just want to hop in and say the joy of this project for me has been working with these two incredible actors who are giving me a smorgasbord of choices to say yes, 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 maybe not that, but yes, 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 please, more of that, right? When actors come in prepared and able to make big, brave choices, bold choices, physically, vocally, emotionally, then you have a richer canvas to use to paint with. And so these two actors have absolutely done that. And I'm so, it's not the first time we've worked together, and every time I get the chance I will, because Bradford does a couple of things equally. First of all, is incredibly professional and prepared, and next brings his whole emotional depth and ability to be vulnerable, which is vulnerability is a verb. I like to tell folks it's not just a state of being, it is not an emotional state. It's an active process. And Bradford does that incredibly well.
I like that. Vulnerability is a verb. That's going to be the title of your book. You write about directing.
Right.
That's cool. So
thank you, Stacey. I appreciate you saying that.
You're both directors. Mm-hmm. What's it like being directed by someone who, what is it like directing people who are also directors? So does it? That's a poorly worded question. Is it different than directing, an actor who's never been in that seat?
Well, I think it's again, it's really about how much you trust this small group. Last night, we got out of the nest, and I call the part of rehearsal where we're just the actor and director and stage manager in a little bubble, and we're doing our work, and it's wonderful, right? And then last night we have started adding folks into the process, which happens. We have to now have our designers there, and other folks are there, and folks are giving us notes, and that's amazing and incredible, but it's also, it's not ours anymore. It's meant to be shared. That's the whole point. But with folks who are very adept at theater, then you trust the people you're in the room with. And my whole kind of guiding principle for this production is I have incredible people with me. I'm going to say yes, and we're going to all of us together create a atmosphere where everyone can feel like they can contribute and create themselves too.
I like that. I forget sometimes that there are people doing all of these jobs in order to make this show come through and as a complete piece. I couldn't tell you what the stage manager does, but I know it's an important job.
Oh, yeah.
So what does that person do?
Well, first of all, let's call them out. Caitlin Cooper. Caitlin helps. Caitlin's my external brain drive. And really makes sure that everything is, the scheduling is correct, and that all of the moving pieces get to the same place at the same time, and, helps helps the production move forward really seamlessly.
So when I think about things like lighting, there's lighting to fill a space with light, and then there are cues that sometimes you have certain lights that have to be on or off at a certain point, and someone's got to run that. And that, I guess, I'm assuming all comes from you originally, but then someone has to execute it. Is that correct?
Well, our lighting designer, Dave Simpson, is incredible. And we had this discussion last night talking about, what are the most important specials to think about considering, and can we give up one to make this other thing happen, and what's the atmosphere in the room need to be as we move from daylight to nighttime in the space. All of these questions that Dave Simpson is able to see a rehearsal, look at a text, and talk to me, and then figure out how to make that live in the room with light.
Okay. And when you say specials, that's a particular sort of an effect that you're trying to achieve?
Sure. Like, let's say someone is seated in a spot and something happens particularly in a specific place.
Okay.
Is there light around them that helps support the text in that moment? Or how do we show the passage of time in an internal room where there are no windows? There's a door, and we have a nighttime light and a daytime light that will come in and help tell the audience what time of day it is in the play itself.
Okay.
So all of the so that the lights support the story that's being told, both kind of physically and thematically.
I would think that all that stage work can help the actors in a way, because it's creating the mood
Absolutely.
and the scene that you're inhabiting, and it's helping me as an audience member in advance to kind of know where I should be, how I should maybe be feeling at this point.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times designs like that are more intended for the audience. We rarely get a chance to see it because by the time we go into Tech Week, which is this coming week, we are focused just on the acting, while Stacey and the designers are really focusing on a lot of the technical elements. So we may not notice that there is a special light hitting something or a blue light that is glowing until, you know, maybe we happen to like turn and notice it, or there's a pause or a break and we can view it. But other than like maybe like how dim or bright a light is, which does impact tone, sometimes we just don't notice a special. With this particular show, there are going to be a few special lights designed to pull the audience's focus onto one of the pieces of furniture that is really specific, also creating a tone that mirrors the Lonely Planet, the idea that this light, this round light that is isolating a chair, is a part of that loneliness, right? And so
Yeah.
I think, so not only being practical, that lighting has to actually illuminate the stage. Audience should be feeling something with the use of colors and the use of like shape.
Yeah. Go
Makes
Bradford. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a director.
Absolutely.
But the thing is different
And
from community theater, which usually has a great team of designers and technicians. Having worked with educational theater, 9 through 12, very rarely do theater teachers, high school theater teachers, have a team. Usually they are they're a team of one. So they're doing the directing of the actors, and then when it gets to tech, they're also taking care of that. So one of the questions you asked earlier is, I've never directed somebody who was also a director.
Okay. But you've been directed by.
But I've been directed by many directors.
And you are a director. So what's that like?
But I think the thing for me is, having directed many shows in an educational environment, is that I can see and feel what looks good from an audience's perspective. So I do allow that to translate to when I'm on stage. What angle works to be seen? What angle works to be dramatic, right? Do I actually turn away from the audience in this moment to create a mood? Volume, right? The use of volume in a space too, going from a 400-seat auditorium to a 45-seat auditorium, what that's going to look like, but still understanding the importance of like intimacy, but not compromising volume. So I think what's helped me as an actor is also my ability to have directed and to take a look at from the perspective of, from an audience member's perspective.
So do you feel like you take direction better as someone who's directed, or do you sometimes find yourself wanting to say, well, how about we do it this way instead? Because I have a thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love being directed, because at the end of my day, when I'm making so many decisions, I want the director to tell me what to do. Like, do not require me to think. But I do. I love notes as an actor. I love direction. It's where a lot of learning comes in from that as well. And every director has their own style, and so working with Stacey and having worked with Stacey before too, like I kind of go into every project with Stacey knowing, okay, this is what she appreciates, this is what she likes. So this is what I'm going to, right away, this is the platform which I'm going to dive off of. And so then we can then kind of get all that's out of the way, and then we can just really create for this project, which is good.
Feels like you're the first, Stacey, you're the first audience member.
I love that.
And you're watching it from inception to completion, but you are watching the show, and you're able to say, you didn't sell that quite the way I want you to, because I don't feel it the way I want to feel it. So let's try that. I mean, I could see that where you can really be beneficial if you are an audience member who's who's discerning and who's able to sort of shape the show to be what it should be for a general audience, right?
That's that outside eye job of the director to do that, to be in, many seats in the space so that you look at it from all of the different places where an audience member could be and is seeing it from. But honestly, the idea that, there are some directors that want to put their stamp on the play. Right. They really do. They want to.
Everything's their way.
Well, not just their way, but they want to change the reception of the text to add something to it that's specifically theirs. And maybe perhaps because I am a playwright, I am more of a purist that I want this text to be the most important thing. And so it is not really about, that was a Stacey Spain directed play.
Right.
That this is more about the text and the artifact that is given to us in written form that we're illuminating.
It sounds like you treat the text the way you would like your text to be treated.
Hallelujah.
If somebody else was going to put it on.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I like that. I wanted to highlight a couple of things. I checked out Brüka.org to get some background on the show. And one of the things I noticed is some special events attached to certain performance dates, and I wanted to call them out. And the Sunday matinees, the 18th of January and the 25th of January, each of those at 2 p.m. have a post-show event. The first one, the 18th, has a post-show with a talkback panel, right?
Yes. And so that talkback panel will include folks from the community who either have lived experience through the pandemic or are public health folks, and people that can speak to the lay of the land public health-wise now and how it was then, and, can help people who didn't live through it understand it a little more. And these ideas of these talkbacks started at our center in my the other part of my life. I work at our center, which is the LGBTQ Center for Northern Nevada, and we had a member of our elder queer community in the space with some teens, and the teens were asking questions about what it was like then. And that interaction between someone who lived through it and people who were interested, but maybe all they learned or maybe all they know now is, there was an AIDS pandemic, a lot of people died, and there's a quilt, right? And so then for them to have the ability to speak with someone who lived through it, who lost friends, who mourned an entire lost generation, and have that moment of transference of community, society, and culture. That's how we do it in the queer community. You don't necessarily in our families of origin, we communicate our culture at dinner tables for an entire lifetime, right? We have all of those Thanksgivings and Christmases to tell story about our families. But for queer folk who choose our communities, we need to pay attention to the transfer of knowledge and to the transfer of history. And one of the things about doing this play is it offers us the opportunity to present this slice of time to younger queers who may not, who didn't live through it. So how do we help transmit our community and help folks learn about that time?
Yeah, you can help people understand some of the modern culture based on the historical experiences that built the history to where we are now, and actually makes some things make more sense to a younger person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the 18th. The 25th, there's another post show. That's Production Elements Talkback, right?
So that's our standard talkback we do at Brüka every time, which is the director and the actors and everyone talking about the show and what their experience was, the opportunity for the audience to ask questions. And, the first thing someone will say in the front row is, how'd you learn all those lines?
Right. Well, this is impressive. Every time I see a show, even now, the first thing I notice is man, that you have to know, you have to remember all of this and to be able to deliver it as though it is just occurring to you as opposed to reciting it. And that's one of the things that I always remember about especially local theater, because you get such the spectrum of ability and I think everybody's committed, but the ability to pull off a complicated program in a way that feels authentic. And you can tell sometimes the people who they memorized it and they're going to deliver it and they're not going to miss a word, but they're going to do it like they're remembering it at the moment that they're saying it. And you know that doesn't feel authentic versus people like you, Bradford, who seem to be coming up with these thoughts in the moment, and it feels authentic, and you are being transported into that person's world, and it's a difference. It's a big difference, and so I think that those are the kinds of things that I think about that. You have to remember all those words, and I will be impressed by people, even the ones who are lousy at emoting it. They'll just they nail every word. I'm like, you know what? Good for you. You did it. You got everything that you needed in your brain. It stuck, and you brought it out when you needed to, and it works. It moves the play forward. But sometimes it's less authentic feeling than others because the person is clearly just nailing, making sure they get the words out.
Sure.
And those are interesting distinctions to be made in the theater, because you sometimes, I'm sure you've been in shows, you've probably directed shows where you've got all levels of ability on the same stage at the same time, and that's a really interesting thing to watch, because you're being authentically reacting as someone who is not believable as a character, but you're not worried about that. You're doing your job. You are acting. You are really in it, and I love that. I think that's as much of a compliment as I can pay anybody about this. Is you never break that. That's really important.
First time, every time.
Yeah.
So that's that idea that, for the audience, they've never seen it before. They've never read the script. They don't have the script in front of them.
They don't know what's coming, yeah.
Right. And so then how do you ask these actors to go through that, to get on the train and ride the rails to the destination? We all know what's happening at the end of the play, but we can't play the ending of the play at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, to be in a continual state of discovery, that's what that's what we hope actors are able to accomplish.
And you can feel it as an audience member when it's happening, and it really comes through. One more of the special events, January 28th. What night is that, Stacey?
That's the Our Center night, where a portion of the ticket price will go to Our Center. And Brüka's doing this throughout their entire season this year. It's so lovely of them.
That's very kind of them.
Yeah. And so that night we'll have a reception before the show. And our dramaturg, Alan Ratliff, will be joining us for that event, as well as the Sunday events. And we'll be able to kind of celebrate the show, celebrate the community. I think it's Bradford's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
So it's just a way for our community to gather. We have a group of our elder queers called the Out and About group, where folks get together and decide they're going to go to see a concert, or they're going to go see a play, or they're going to go to whatever it is they might want to go to, so that folks can do that as a group and together. So they'll be there. It's exciting. It's going to be a fun night.
That sounds great. Now, one last question. You guys, thank you for the time, by the way. You've gone longer than I thought I was going to make you sit here, and you didn't squirm at all, so well done.
Yeah.
What do you hope people take away from the experience of Lonely Planet?
I think at its base, Lonely Planet is a story about friendship, and how friendship endures in the face of tragedy. And so if you go home and call a friend you haven't called in a minute, or you reach across and are seated with that best friend of yours, and it makes your relationship a little closer, that's wonderful. I believe every time we do theater, we are creating magic, because that definition of magic is something that bends reality. Wicca bends wood. That's the definition of that. We are bending our reality to get people to come into this world and re-put together a specific time and place in American history. So if they can know about that and transfer that to their lived existence now and their friendships now, that'll be a wonderful outcome.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. When Rod and I first met before our first rehearsal, we talked about like why this play, why now, and ultimately it came down to like the relationships that are built, particularly post pandemic 2020, where I'm guilty of this as well. Like I found a lot of comfort in the isolation, and returning to normal was very, very difficult. I found a lot of peace, especially with the schedule that I've always prided myself on keeping very, very busy. There was something nice about being forced to slow down. And so, but I do also find that I can separate myself a little bit. So the idea that we're still very connected, that we have, should we allow it? We have a circle of people out there. We have a team, a village of people that are there for us, and to reach out and to remember those relationships and those friendships. To really find the community and the connection.
We are all on this lonely little planet hurtling through space, and it's a tiny little blue marble, and we're on it together, so we might as well embrace those friendships.
A lovely sentiment, and I hope that if even one person who was listening to this can come out and watch, I'll feel like I did something good here today.
Thank you.
So that's January 16th through 31st. Friday the 16th is opening night through Sunday the 31st. We mentioned the 3 special event nights, or 2 of them are afternoons and matinees. So get your tickets. Where can they get tickets?
At Brüka.org.
Brüka.org. So thank you both for coming and giving me the time. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward even more now to seeing the show.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, before we go, I got to remind everybody to watch Artifacts on PBS Reno via broadcast or streaming on pbsreno.org or the PBS Reno YouTube channel or the PBS app. Lots of ways to watch. Also, read Art Views, our columns at pbsreno.org. Now, do you have a question or maybe a comment or a suggestion? If so, please send them to me at podcasts@pbsreno.org. I may have to come up with a prize for someone who can email me here. My thanks to Stacey Spain and Bradford II, and thank you for listening to PBS Reno Arts.
Support for this episode of PBS Reno Arts is provided by the Nevada Arts Council. Arts and creativity make us stronger, fueling innovation, prosperity, and thriving communities across Nevada. They boost our economy, promote well-being, and enhance education, empowering Nevadans of all ages. The Nevada Arts Council nurtures these essential creative forces. Together, let's elevate the arts in every corner of our great state. More at nvartscouncil.org.